Remember last year's amazing trip? That cute first birthday party? All those photos, all those memories can be freed from your phone with a Shutterfly photo book. Rediscover and share your favorite moments with those you love. You'll be amazed how easy it is to make a photo book with Shutterfly and enjoy it for years to come. Get 40% off orders over $29 with code POD40 at Shutterfly.com and make something that means something.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Yo peeps, this is episode 29, Flixwatcher Podcast, with
Kobe
and me,
Helen.
Woo!
And this episode of Flixwatcher, we are joined by the guys from Picturehouse Podcast, that's Sam and Simon, and they've chosen The Edge for us to watch.
The Edge.
The Edge. There's a bear in it.
And it's not about the Edge.
It's not about the Edge. What, you mean like the U2 guy?
Yeah, it's not. Sorry, U2 fans.
Sorry, yeah. Still watch it though. Still listen.
For the bear.
For the bear.
Come find us on Twitter, tweet to us, agree with us, disagree. We're at FlixWatcherPod. The website flixwatcher.tv has full listings of each episode, and subscribe and review us on iTunes. As always, films reviewed in this podcast were available to stream on Netflix UK at the time of recording. There may be bad language and there may be spoilers. You have been warned. This episode of Flixwatcher Pod is brought to you by GL Productions. GL Production provide hassle-free, professional quality podcast production at an affordable price. So if you're looking to get into podcasting but fancy a little bit of professionalism to help you out, then we highly recommend GL Productions. If you fancy 10% off your bespoke podcast production package, tell them Kobe and Helen sent you for your first order. Hello and welcome to this edition of Flixwatcher Pod. Today we are joined by Sam and Simon. Would you like to say hello, guys? Tell us a bit about your podcast.
Hello, I'm Sam Clements, and I co-host the Picturehouse Podcast with the beautiful Simon Renshaw, who's sat near us today. And yeah, we just waffle on about the new releases that are in actual cinemas, mostly Picturehouse cinemas, but sometimes other cinemas, and occasionally we might interview a director or an actor or something. But we're very much new releases in the theatrical experience, so it's a novelty to be able to stay at home and watch Netflix.
Yes, a bit of VOD and a bit of home entertainment is excellent. Thank you for your generous introduction. How very kind. This is Simon, by the way. Hi.
So we're here talking about The Edge, which is your choice, Sam.
Yes.
What happens in it and why did you pick it?
Everybody said why at the same time.
Oh, I didn't
feel nervous.
Vindicated.
Well, I think the joy of Netflix is discovering films.
Sure.
And maybe for watching things that you wouldn't maybe have heard of or you didn't really want to spend any actual money on.
Sure.
And I think The Edge is a very solid film to recommend someone if they've basically already paid for it. Like, you have it in your home. You just don't know you have it in your home. So you should do yourself a favor and spend 2 hours by watching Lee Tamahori's The Edge.
Lee Tamahori.
Lee Tamahori hasn't had the best career.
No.
He started well. It kind of died after he did a Bond film. He did a very bad Bond film.
Die Another Day, isn't it?
Die Another Day, co-starring Madonna.
Was that the Invisible Car one?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've
Jumped
still
the
never
shark.
seen that.
It's bad.
He basically finished a franchise for about 7 years until they rebooted it with Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
He's responsible for that, and the industry has not thanked him. He hasn't particularly worked on anything that's been successful since. He is still making films. They are not getting released. He was at the Berlin Film Festival last year. His film never came out in the UK.
Really?
It's too sad. What was it?
I couldn't tell you.
It's quite interesting though, because nowadays, he was it Once Were Warriors was his film, and nowadays that would have been a film that would have kind of led nowadays into, yeah, you did a great independent film. Now here's a gajillion pounds to do the next Marvel film. It was quite interesting that he got given the reins to do a Bond film and kind of dropped the ball on it in a way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure would that be allowed nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Let's think. Would he be like the Colin Trevorrow of his day, perhaps?
Maybe after Once We Were Warriors, but not his. I don't know. I think
but not after The Edge.
Colin Trevorrow was the Jurassic World, and previously was
What's it called? The tiny film that Colin Trevorrow made. I always forget.
with
it.
April Ludgate from.
Yep.
Oh, that was good. The time machine thing. I don't know. I feel like Lee Tamahori. A lot of now people celebrate indie directors, and I think in the 90s there wasn't as much love for the director.
It's a tougher crack at the whip, I think. I agree.
Yeah, because you were in the 90s. You were working with very macho experienced film directors who were doing all of those 90s action films like McGee and Michael Bay and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that's not your default setting,
Safety Not Guaranteed.
Safety Not Guaranteed.
Safety
Yes.
Not Guaranteed. Thank you.
So I had to.
That would have killed me.
Destroyed me.
Yeah. So what's The Edge about?
Well, I mean, so it's directed by Lee Tamahori, but it's also directed by David Mamet. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
right.
That's
mad.
Yeah.
What a weird coming together of
What is this dual directorship?
Oh no, sorry. So he wrote it. David Mamet was writer. It's such a weird film for David Mamet to write, and then also to even be made. It's such a strange thing.
I agree.
It's I mean, the plot is reasonably paper thin.
Should point out it's not a documentary about The Edge from U2.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is true. He doesn't even pop up. There's no cameo.
There's no music
anything.
from there.
It's a missed opportunity across the board.
I wonder how many people have downloaded it or watched it or bought a ticket for it when it was in the cinema, expecting to see Bono and the rest of the boys.
The Edge with a bear.
My favourite synopsis of this film on IMDb, the top synopses, is one that I am adamant that Anthony Hopkins, who plays the lead role in this film, has written, because the synopsis reads: an intellectual billionaire, who Anthony Hopkins plays in the film, and two lesser men struggle to band together and survive after getting stranded in the Alaskan wilderness with a bloodthirsty Kodiak bear hunting them down. I mean, that is basically the plot. But there's no need to,
Lesser
judge
men.
them.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like Anthony Hopkins has written that synopsis. It sounds like the character he plays, Charles Morse, has written that synopsis. Insane.
Me and two scum buckets. The pilot didn't make it. The pilot died straight away on impact.
Ridiculous.
It's odd for IMDb to be so judgmental. I mean, I know people write these, but who? What?
Yeah, it's madness.
Why?
Yeah.
So Anthony Hopkins is the lead in this film, playing the intellectual billionaire Charles. And we know he's called Charles because Alec Baldwin doesn't say anything other than Charles throughout the whole film.
That's a very good point. I don't know if you guys are aware, but Alec Baldwin saying the word Charles in this film is a bit of a thing. You can watch a supercut, obviously, on YouTube of every time that Alec Baldwin says the word Charles in this film. And I've seen this film, honestly, 100 times.
Really?
And I rewatched it this morning ahead of today. And I decided for the first time in my life to count all of the Charleses in this film, and not just the Baldwin Charleses, but every single Charles in this film. Anyone want to guess how many times the word Charles turns up in this film?
I'm going to go for 83.
83. Helen?
56.
I'm going over 100. I think it said
it's
a lot.
146
Oh,
times.
what?
It's unbelievable.
Like 1 a minute almost.
Yeah, pretty much. And then some. They do not stop saying his name throughout the film. Everyone says his name.
Does the bear say it?
Times. And unfortunately, I think the bear is the only character in the film that doesn't, which is a shame. But maybe if you put subtitles on, he actually is saying Charles.
Because we know we can translate Kodiak bear because that's what happened in Anchorman. So they can put the subtitles in the.
Yeah. It'll just say Charles over and over again. That's like 40 of the Charleses are just from the bear. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's great. Go on, carry on, sorry.
Well, Charles is the intellectual billionaire, and he's there with his wife, played by Elle MacPherson. She's a model because Elle MacPherson is actually a model, and that was how genius the casting was. and Alec Baldwin, who is like a friend / love rival
/ creepy photographer
/ creepy man, and their pal Stephen, played by Harold Perrineau. And they both go to this lovely cabin on the lake, but the guy who owns the cabin says something about make sure you close the door because the bears might sneak in. And one night, I think the film begins with someone leaving out some ham and a bear sneaking in.
That's right.
But then it's revealed it's not a bear.
It's not a bear. It's an Alec Baldwin
special birthday
dressed as a
treat.
bear.
But great foreboding.
I never want a bear for my birthday.
Horrible.
Fake or otherwise.
So he's a man of that. I mean,
This is like
that
old.
seems irresponsible.
Heart attack.
Yeah,
on
he's
its
a man
way.
of some years. Like, you're going to kill the fucking guy. Like, be careful.
Pretty convincing bear costume
It
as
was.
well.
It is. I mean, yeah.
It would have been quite early to bring the bear on, though.
Yes, it is. I mean,
Realist.
also having this is not my first rodeo with this film, and so like knowing full well that it's going to be Alec Baldwin dressed up as a bear at the reveal, it is a real con to have. When you see the shot of the bear's face, to have an actual bear roar and not like an Alec Baldwin doing a bear roar, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like an actual, it's nonsense.
It's
but
definitely not Alec Baldwin under a bear blanket, is it?
No,
That shot.
it's a runner. A poor, sweaty runner.
And they're there to do a photo shoot / celebrate his birthday.
Yes.
And Elle MacPherson has to do this photo shoot dressed as a Native American for some reason. And they have a couple of scenes of doing this very cringy photo shoot where you do get to have shots of Elle MacPherson dressed like this in the trailer to create intrigue. But they very quickly hop in a very unsafe looking plane to go and contact someone.
Yeah, they want to go and find the guy. There's a photograph of
Native American
of a
guy.
Native
Yeah,
American
it's
guy
like
who lives
it's a
nearby.
paper thin plot.
Yeah. I mean the reasons for actually going elsewhere are nonsense. So they just get in the plane to go and find another guy, and what happens.
And then the film starts when
Yes.
they crash land in the woods.
Bird
And it's,
strike.
It's Alec, Harold, and Anthony up against a bear.
Yeah, and then it's just bear. It's just bear forever after that.
Just bear
for
fun.
survival. Bear forever.
Yeah, it's good. It's kind of fun using the. I mean, the bear isn't in as much of the film as I would like.
I mean,
because it boils down to it being the pair of them having, like a heart to heart, and this sort of like they're using their intellects against each other. Alec
Yes.
Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. How spoilery
We
are
can
we allowed
spoil
to
Yeah,
be?
spoil.
Yeah.
I mean, the bear dies 35 minutes before the film ends.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still quite a lot of plot to get through, which is good. But I remember thinking, like, God, we've still got ages.
Yeah.
But
Did
then,
you do that thing where you kind of pause at Netflix and kind of go,
hang on, the antagonist has just died, or has he?
Yes, it pulls the bear rug over your eyes.
Lovely, lovely.
And keeps going on.
That's a lovely bit of business, Sam.
lovely bit of business.
Enjoyed that very much.
I first heard of this film only very recently. I've watched it 3 times in the last year, basically, because
Yes.
I kind of became a bit obsessed with it when I realised it existed. We all went to watch The Revenant at Picturehouse Central.
Yes, it
because I
was.
remember we talked about the sound. It was in Dolby Atmos, which is weird for a film like The Revenant to have that very techie soundtrack. On the way out of the screen, I was like, yeah, it was all right. Bear was all right. And then a colleague of ours recommended The Edge, and he was like, it's got nothing on The Edge. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, everybody's saying this is going to win Best Picture or whatever, but The Edge is better. Okay,
Did
so
the
then
Edge
check
not
it
win
out.
Best Picture?
mean,
That's
it's
a missed
unbelievable.
opportunity.
Something tells me no.
It was robbed.
It was robbed.
But then thankfully it was on Netflix when I was trying to look up what The Edge was, and I saw this great cast: Baldwin, Hopkins, MacPherson, Bart the Bear.
Bart the Bear.
and I had so much more fun watching The Edge than I did The Revenant.
Oh, absolutely.
I
I
felt-
genuinely think it's a better film, but I also fuck The Revenant. But like, I do think it's a
Well,
significantly
it's
better
got rewatch value and it is very entertaining. And it's all these weird ingredients have come together to make such a weird film from the 90s. Like, this is a very typical 90s action film, which almost everybody has forgotten about.
Yes.
But then I went on a bit of a quest to try and screen it in a cinema. So I spent most of the first half of last year trying to show this film to an audience and get them to pay money to it. I think we sold about 20 tickets in the end.
Oh, no, that's ungenerous. It was more than that.
Maybe about 25.
Okay, sure.
But I just felt like that people would want to watch this. And I think maybe Netflix is a better platform than trying to get people to come out and pay £10 or whatever to go
so.
and see it.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But whilst I was on this quest to try and screen the film, I did get in touch with Lee Tamahori. And you know what? He wrote back.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Oh, God, I'd forgotten about. Have you got the thing?
So I thought it would be fun if Lee Tamahori did send us something, because he can't get that many requests to screen The Edge 20 years after its initial release. And you know what? He doesn't. So when I wrote to him, he wrote back, the very first line of his email back was, I can't believe in the age of the Revenant, people still remember The Edge with affection.
Oh, Lee.
he was sent a very long email, which would be boring to read out. But he really loved that we were showing the film.
You've just taken like 5 minutes to scroll to the bottom of that email.
Yeah,
That's
it was
amazing.
a long email.
It goes
I don't
on and
remember
on
being
and
that
on and
long.
on and on. He does talk about the excellent Jerry Goldsmith score, which we should also
We
talk
will
about.
definitely get to, absolutely.
But he signed off the email by saying, I wish I was there with you. If I was, I would steal the poster. And then I felt sad because even Lee Tamahori doesn't have a poster for this film.
Yeah, get on eBay, Lee.
Which version of the poster does you want? Because there's many and they're all horrific.
Yeah.
The
Faces.
poster, I guess, to describe is
It's a lot of
mostly
faces.
Anthony Hopkins doing, I guess, his bear impression,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
Alec Baldwin trying to better him.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's what we had on the VHSs
So
in 1997.
Bear in mind, we're on a
1998.
podcast here, so
So,
people
sorry, Christ, yeah, faces. I mean, it's just all of their two faces.
Two
Baldwin.
The
floating
name's
heads.
the wrong way round as well.
Yeah, perfect. Everyone loves a bit of nose the wrong way around.
Some with the bear in it, some without the bear in it.
Yeah, you got to put the bear in, guys. It's the best bit.
I think that's the main selling point, isn't it? Especially for this post-Revenant audience who are into bear movies.
Yeah, it's got a bear in it. I've been watching this film for most of my life.
How did you come across it the first time then?
At Rainbow Video in Ulster in the West Midlands.
Nice.
In 1998.
I also had a rainbow video in Cheadle Hulme.
How about that?
Yeah. Maybe
Great.
a popular name back in the day.
Great little franchise. They, me and Chris Fulton rented it in 1998, and honestly, I think we rented it 12 times that year. We were completely obsessed with it, and I've watched it a ton since. It's genuinely one of my most rewatched films. It's such a stupid nonsense, but I have such great affection for it. I mean, this is like not acting with a capital A. It's like acting with a capital acting. Like it's all over the shop. But I do have a great deal of affection for it for so many different reasons. I think it's a bit of a gem, but a shit gem, but a gem.
It's the sort of film that only happens by accident. No one planned for this film to be this film. They were all making different films. Everybody involved, even Bart the Bear, thought he was in a different film. And it's only because they all come with this own sense of importance or whatever, or understanding of the script, and they haven't spoken to any of their colleagues about what they're making.
No.
You get this glorious mess.
It
and
is
I
a mess.
think it's worth celebrating.
What do
that.
you think Lee Tamahori's direction was? Was it just kind of have a conversation with Hopkins and he'd say, yeah, just do what you want, Hopper.
I think
All boulders, you do what you want. Bear, yeah, that. Whatever you just said, yeah, do that.
I think they're giving 110% and he's pushing them for 120. Like, I think that's how overblown this absurd nonsense of a film is.
Helen, you've heard affection for the film, but for a bad film. What are your thoughts?
It is terrible.
Yeah, it is bad.
This was my first encounter. Yeah, it is. It is everything you said and much more, I think.
And much less.
Yeah. I mean, it's what is going. I mean, it's performances from Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins are just bonkers because they're clearly. What are they do? I think they must be thinking, "What am I doing here?
Yeah.
Why am I here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here now.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it. It is mad." And I was really sad when the bear died. I really wanted him to kind of have more victims. And then even sadder that, like, the next shot, they're wearing him.
They are wearing him. It's interesting.
That kind of annoyed me because it's like, what? So you skinned it, dried it
Tanned
out,
it,
did
yeah.
everything you need to do, literally in what?
Wasting time.
Got
You're
a
going
nice,
to die.
Got
You
a nice
haven't
little
eaten.
pendant as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no, that stuff doesn't make any sense at all. Also, this is, I think, as I said, I've seen it 1,000 times, but this is the only time rewatching it that I've genuinely felt a bit sad when they killed the bear. I think, like, when you're 12 years old and you're just a horrible little prick, you're like, yeah, kill the fucking bear. Yeah, get one bear. And then I just don't feel like that about
He was
animals or
probably just
conflict
hungry.
anymore. Exactly. Like, he's fine. He's just being a bear, and humans are awful.
Yeah, have you ever heard of Grizzly Man?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, that's true.
I mean, the bear
love
did
that
eat their
film
mates.
so much.
Maybe
he
they
did-
were getting
he did eat their
revenge for
mates.
Harold.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was kind of
I think-
horrific.
he
scene,
had it
actually.
coming, though. He was the one who was clearly going to be bear food first.
yes, absolutely. But
The lesser of the lesser man.
yes,
The
exactly.
the least of the lesser man.
But I think that's there's something in that it's not what I like about the film is it's like ludicrous B plot is like at least it's got that. It's not just like two idiots trying to kill a bear and then they go home. At least we have like, but he's not the real antagonist. The real antagonist is Alec Baldwin because he's a prick. And like however dumb that subplot is, at least it's like there's something because it is 17 minutes long.
Yeah, too long for this kind of film.
It's interesting what you said about the sort of Alec Baldwin thinking like, why am I here? Why am I here? Because he actually did think, why am I here? Why am I here? And he hated making the film. And
did he?
He had arguments with Lee Tamahori and they did not get on at all.
That's interesting.
Lee Tamahori was very diplomatic in his email he sent before our screening and didn't really talk about it. But there's lots of Alec Baldwin, I think, does talk about it on his. Alec Baldwin has a podcast. And I think he's mentioned it on there and how he hated making this film and disagreed with the direction.
How interesting.
I guess at this time in '97, Alec Baldwin was at the height of his powers and he could probably have all of the ego he wanted.
Right.
Whereas Hopkins would be over it and he's just up for a jolly in the woods with a bear.
What's he been up to, Hopper? Because he just, every film he turns up in now, he just seems like he's not arsed, but he's happy to be not arsed in the film.
I think we haven't had a good Anthony Hopkins performance in 20 years.
He's a bit hammy, which makes me
He's
kind of wonder,
dreadful.
was he that great in
the first place?
In many of the other films? I mean, obviously Silence of the Lambs is...
Yeah, although it's still a
It's
big
very hammy
performance. I think for me, it's just Howard's End and Remains of the Day. That's the only ones that I really give a shit about. I think apart from that, he's just pretty dreadful.
Doesn't he pop up in the Elephant Man?
Oh God, fuck! I'm so wrong. He's so good in The Elephant Man. That is a performance of
But that's
such subtlety
a long
and
time
beauty.
before anyone gave him any
86.
Oscars.
86.
And
Yeah.
I think
5 years
since then,
before the...
He has this like elder statesman
Lambs.
kind of role in Hollywood now where you can
Yeah.
get an and Anthony Hopkins on your credits. And
Yeah.
sometimes he uses that very well, like in the film Bobby,
Yes.
which is an ensemble film.
Yes.
He has a very small but very important part in that film. And
Yeah,
I think,
that's a
did
good
he direct The World's Fastest Indian?
He did, and it was
That wasn't good, but that was like a worthy thing. That was him like, oh, Anthony's going for another Oscar. But he mainly makes a living from doing straight to DVD horror and sci-fi and all sorts of rubbish. He's actually in the new Transformers film as the and Anthony Hopkins credit.
I mean, you're never quite sure what accent he's trying to do
No.
either. You're like, are you trying to do an accent? You forgot that you're trying to do an accent? Are
Yes.
you Welsh again?
Fracture is specifically is really bad for that, which might be on Netflix as well. Actually, if it's not anymore, then it certainly was at some point. Which is the Gosling Hopkins thriller. That's the worst. Hopkins
Is that the worst
accent as far as I'm
What about
concerned.
was it Noah's Ark? Was it just Noah?
Just Noah?
Just
yeah,
Noah.
He eats the berries. He eats all the berries in Noah.
He does eat all the berries in Noah. Fuck
I
me.
I
What
do
a
love him
nightmare.
as Van Helsing in Bram Stoker's Dracula,
Yep.
which is
That is
another
really
terrible
fun.
film, but
Yeah,
it's brilliantly bad.
huge and massive.
I mean,
God,
you would
that's-
find that film next to The Edge in the video shop, wouldn't you? Like they would make for a fun double bill if you
Yeah.
wanted to do a bit of a Hoppo 90s double.
Yes, that's true. There's a really, really, really fucking dreadful film that I wholeheartedly recommend from 2000. It's either the end of 2015 or the beginning of 2016, called Solace.
Right.
And Solace is a spec script that's like it's for all intents and purposes a detective thriller about a man who uses a psychic to try and solve a series of murders. But it was written as a spec script for a sequel to Seven, and it was given to David Fincher. And it was called 8.
No.
And Fincher like threw it at the wall, and it was only. And then they changed the title. It was bought by someone and then made, God, like at least 10 years later. It's honestly one of the worst things I've seen. It's such a piece of shit. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's brilliant. It's really bad.
What was the 8th deadliest sin?
You know, it's so like I think like the whole
putting the
8th
recycling
thing.
out on
It's
top.
like exactly like psychobabble nonsense, and it's spelt like it's EIG.
Yeah.
But the G is an 8.
Yeah.
HT, like perfect. Anyway, sorry, that was
What a great
detour.
franchise.
No, I love it.
That's what I was going to say. That is Edge related. His performance in The Edge is sort of it's like a double-edged sword, and the one of those edges is like quite a restrained thing because he's a reclusive sort of intellectual type, and the other side of that is Hopkins in The Bounty. I don't know if you've seen The Bounty.
No.
So The Bounty is like big, I think 84 swashbuckler. He plays Captain Bligh. So have you seen any of the Trip, the sitcom with Steve Coogan.
Yeah, Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. Yeah, absolutely love it. Yeah.
So they do. So Rob Brydon is always doing Anthony Hopkins in The Bounty, and that when he does the whole like all of that. That's Hopkins in The Bounty, and we do get elements of that here. And I think that one of those specific moments we absolutely have to mention because it's one of the best cinematic moments of that decade, which is the extreme close-up on Hopkins' face when he delivers the immortal line, "Am I going to kill the motherfucker?" Like, heaven. What is that delivery? Why was that written on a page? What is this fucking nightmare?
David Mamet trip.
Yes! Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
There's so many things in this that I just, right from the start, just kind of had me on edge. And it's the kind of, it's the foreshadowing of what's going to happen all the way.
Yeah.
In the first half of the film, you know exactly what's going to happen because it's emphasized so many times. Bird strike, what's that? That's when birds hit a plane. How could you not know what that is? And then it goes further into discussing it. Yeah. And if that happens, we're in for real bad shit. Yeah. Okay, right. So there's going to be bird strike at some point.
It's the same with the food. Like, now the first rule with bears is never lewd food out like 4 minutes later. Oh, someone's left some food out here.
So, what's this? This is a bear trap. Okay, what's this? I think a bear trap's going to appear at some point in this film later on.
Maybe just at a crucial moment. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Did you know you can make a compass from just a needle and...
I genuinely love that stuff. Like, I think that stuff is genuinely fascinating and exciting.
I think it's great.
Although the way that the sort of smug bellendery of it from Hopkins is so unpleasant. Like, it's got this like portentous riddle me this bullshit about it every time he wants to tell them some sort of bit of faux bon mot or bit of wisdom, like, oh god, fuck off, old man, just get eaten by a bear, please.
But that adds to the cabin fever they get when they're actually out of the cabin in the woods, when there's just the three of them trying to survive, and Hopkins just keeps like telling them stories, not helping them.
No one cares.
My favourite bits, that by that I mean the worst bit, was when they got the compass and figured out which way south is, and they spend 20 minutes to come full circle back to the campfire. And I just kind of thought, no, that's just bullshit now. Because that's...
Now.
No.
It's,
but it just, even if you're trying to stretch out a stupid plot, and you don't go back, you cannot come back to the same spot after crossing a river, climbing up a mountain.
I suppose not.
You just can't do that.
No, it is frustrating. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a strange time for cinema. There were different types of action thrillers in the 90s. Like there was the massive mega budget high end stuff, your Rocks and your Connos and your Face Offs, etc. And then there was just sort of this subgenre of like outdoors action dramas. So you've got like The Edge, Cliffhanger, The River Wild, stuff like that. And like I think there's a little sort of golden period of like high melodrama outdoors actioners from 93 to 98, and obviously this is a huge part of that. And it's definitely my age, but it's why I have such affection for it, because I was a 10-year-old boy, and what do you want to do when you're a fucking 10-year-old boy is watch shit like this. Yeah, and that's why my opinion is 100% coloured on this. You've got no excuse, Sam, because you only watched it for the first time last year.
It's the pre-Matrix action years,
sure. Yeah,
which shaped a lot of action, well, just a lot of films in general after that time. And this is kind of like that slightly weird point after the kind of Speeds and that kind of thing, that things kind of went a bit weird.
Yeah, people were the nice thing about that period is that people were still spending money on real effects. Like, you know, you had your Jurassic Parks, which have like a
good mix,
a lovely mix, but you know, but the rest of them, you're spending money on like blowing proper things up, or
I mean, the plane crash is actually quite.
Yeah, it's great. It's grisly as well. Like, it's nasty, and it's not. What I do quite like the two genuine moments of horror actually quite unpleasant. Like Harold Perrineau's death is like
that's
horrible.
Yeah.
He's really like, that is fun to see them. Like, they've just made a Harold Perrineau dummy and just like thrown it a bear, and covered
you can see like straw coming out of his legs.
Yeah, it's nonsense, but it's nasty. I like this.
Well, it's at that time. You're right. I think you don't get films like this anymore. If you get independent films now, they're more like like very heartwarming dramas or whatever. You don't get like action films are usually very CGI heavy or franchise led or whatever. So this is like very old school cinema techniques that have been used for decades beforehand, still being used now in 1997.
Yeah,
I think one of the things they did try to do was build an animatronic bear, but I just imagine it looks so bad. It was easier to train a real life bear.
I think Bart the Bear was actually, I thought it was great.
Star of the show.
Slightly ludicrous thing in that he was tracking these guys for. I'm not sure that would happen.
Blood.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not sure how much of this film would have happened.
I think it's,
that's okay. We can willingly suspend our disbelief for silly camp bollocks.
I think one thing I was questioning myself with survival films is how long do you think you would have survived in this situation? And I kind of think I would have lasted quite a while.
Right.
I think Revenant I would have died within 30 minutes flat.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to be dead for the Revenant, and for this actually. I mean, I wouldn't last a second. Yeah. I'm dead. I can't do anything. I mean, literally, my hands are made for writing emails. Nothing else. They don't do anything else.
The moment they hit the water, that water must be so cold.
It must be freezing. And they kept the clothes on.
They kept their clothes on. I did point this out and went, they can't keep their clothes on because they're so cold and wet. And once you're just like, oh, okay, I get it now.
That's how it's going to play out.
It really doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, it's nonsense.
They're cold and wet. They're going to pull his matches out, still strike
the matches will be fine.
And light the cigarettes, light the cigars.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, I think if you just have to take it with a pinch of salt, don't you? It is silly bollocks. It's such silly bollocks.
It's quite a fun sort of world to be in where it really jumps up a notch so quickly. Like the plane crash is so like it's so full on and extreme for
and has to come out of nowhere, and it really does.
But then later on in the film, in sort of the third act, it feels like they're in Mad Max or something, where they're now wearing the skinned bear, walking around with spears they fashioned themselves, and like they've come to terms with living in the woods. And I wish Lee Tamahori put a cutaway to like someone looking at their watch, going, "Oh, they've been gone for like half a day."
Yeah,
like it feels like a Simpsons kind of cut.
The only way you could tell how long they've been away is by the growing of the beards.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah, there's quite fast beard growth on both of them. Actually,
well, I don't know how did we work out how long they were away for?
Like a few hours.
I honestly think it is a few hours. I think they've just how some people blow it out of proportion.
They have one night time.
There's at least 2 nights.
Yeah, I think it's 2 night times, so it's maybe 3 days. But like they've both got full beards by the end of it. I mean, the beards don't make any sense at all. Because they're both like a little bit stubbly at the beginning, and like I mean, that's nonsense. Yeah, what a silly film.
Let's definitely talk about the Jerry Goldsmith score.
Oh, yeah, the Goldsmith score is heaven. Like
one of the greatest composers of all time.
Absolutely. Who also wrote the score for The River Wild as well. Yeah, I think this film has elements in it that work really well purely because of what's dictated on the page. So like, I think Lee Tamahori's done quite a good job of directing the big silly nonsense that's on the page, because it's big silly nonsense on the page and he makes that big silly nonsense into a coherent thing on screen. And it's the same thing with Jerry Goldsmith. What he gives you is like a giant silly brass theme that you can remember and that it's like constantly thrown at you from start to finish. And it's like all of the components are as absurd as everything that's going on around them. I think that's why it works for me, is because it all fits together. It's not like it's not like tonally wildly different. It's not like people are trying to make a different film. I think there's like some cohesion, but cohesion on something that is utter nonsense.
I think Jerry enjoys this though, because he does action movies and he can really like ramp up. I mean, I think as a composer, if you're given this film, a film like The Edge, which is so silly and over the top, all right, you can pull out all your toys and you can do every trick in the book on something like this.
Yeah.
In the thing that Lee Tamahori sent, he did say that during the edit, he felt like they were in trouble at times because he didn't feel the film was scary enough. And he would tell this to Jerry Goldsmith, and Jerry would say to him, "Don't worry, Lee, that's my job." and they created a lot of the tension apparently through his score. And he also told us that the sound of the bear is created for a battery of French horns.
Is that so? Why not just use a bear? Because bear sound's not scary enough, maybe?
Because people are so used to bears sounding like a battery of French horns. If you play an authentic bear sound, it won't sound like a bear anymore.
It'll sound like Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
I don't think I noticed. I don't think I registered the score in this.
No, I was just thinking.
Oh, guys,
what can I remember?
Yeah.
No.
It's a solid Spotify recommendation for
mega.
afterwards. Like, you
probably
could put this on a much
maybe
better
never
film
will.
and it
It's
would,
mega.
it would
No,
really
fair
sink
enough.
in.
I think it's cracking work, but yeah, it's mega. It's big.
So I think popcorn time, guys.
I would love some popcorn.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A perfect popcorn movie as well.
I agree. When you screened this at, where was it? Clapham last year. I ate a lot
Buckets
of
and
popcorn
buckets
that
of
day.
popcorn.
Was it
Yeah.
one of those kind of at the end of the screening? There's just like popcorn everywhere.
Yeah.
Bits of limb,
Yeah, bits of
an old bear.
This popcorn is delicious.
So this is from the Popcorn Shed, which you can actually buy in Picturehouse cinemas. They're one of the stockists, we believe.
Excellent.
So you can
So it's
find
come
them
full
there.
circle. Just like going back to a dead campfire, which you left 2 days before. You had no idea you were coming back to it until you literally. No, that just made me angry.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
Don't taint the popcorn with
With
feel
images
like-
with images of the edge.
If they just gave Bart the Bear some Popcorn Shed popcorn, though, like they
Yeah.
would all still be alive.
Yeah,
Could
that's
have
true.
fine.
be
Could have
really
genuinely
happy
helped.
They'd probably be able to
with
ride him back to civilization.
This isn't the front. There's a secret family recipe.
it is secret, but all the
What's the
ingredients are on the
secret?
back, so it's not so secret anymore.
Secret is it comes in a small cardboard shed.
This is it. Yeah.
Ah, it's cute. It's cute
Yeah.
packaging.
So this is the rich chocolate flavour, I think, is what we're testifying now.
It certainly is.
Tasting now.
So
Very rich.
the question is really important. Are you sweet or salty when it comes to your popcorn?
I am one of those disgusting mix people. I asked them to do 50%.
What do they say when you go to the teller and
So
say,
I
can you do
say,
50-50?
Can I do 50-50? And almost always people say, which do you want on top? Which is so considerate.
It's an important question.
So considerate.
I've never thought of that
because
before.
I definitely want to start with the salt as my main course. And I'll move on to my pudding during the climactic battle. Thank you very much.
It happens a lot, I think. I think that's quite a popular opinion and a correct
Yeah.
opinion as well.
I bet there are people who ask for like a 25-25-25-25 split. Can you imagine? Imagine being that ballsy.
I wouldn't do that. No, I don't have the mix, but I would enjoy asking for that
Sure.
if I was that kind of person.
Give me 15, 30, 10.
Then I'd get my calculator out to work out what percentage is left. Is that 17.5 left?
And the rest sweet. Thanks very
Yeah,
much.
thanks.
Sorry for ruining your life.
If you make it really fun, you can then like throw a bag of Monster Munch in, and then maybe some minstrels as well.
Nice.
The ultimate.
Yeah. Maybe some because I imagine that given some movement as a film such as The Edge might cause you to do so, that those minstrels may end up sinking. You could even stick some flumps in there because flumps aren't going to sink. I'm trying to think of other things that won't sink. Marshmallows. Anything mallowy.
Flumps are marshmallows, aren't they?
Quavers
Yeah.
maybe.
Quavers.
in there.
Ooh, speaking
Very
of
nice.
snacks, I actually bought snacks for the group because
Oh,
we're
for
talking about
God's
the Edge.
sake. Oh,
This
God,
is
it's
the perfect snack, which I should have done at the screening. I bought Pom Bears.
I love
Why didn't they do a tie-in, a sponsorship
I'll
of
tell you
Pom
what
Bears
I love about Pom
for this
Bears.
movie?
Gluten-free.
Alright.
Can you imagine? And still tasty.
I love the way it says on the packaging,
Not
product
real
shown
bear.
larger than actual size.
Yeah.
They're not as big as Bart the Bear.
Let's crack these open and head into the score, shall we?
That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah. I don't know what I was expecting with that.
Sorry, I meant to
quite
bring
hot
those
for
out
some-
earlier
I
on. I
love
forgot I
Pom
had them.
Bears so much. I really do. Some of my favourite crisps.
Have a Pom.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
I've not had a bag of these in a long time. It's
They are
very exciting.
fucking wonderful. Yeah, I'm going to open a bag of Pom Bears. Why?
We
So-
could eat the Pom Bears how Bart the Bear eats Harold Perrineau.
Poor old Harold.
So I might get a bit crunchy now,
We'll be
listeners,
careful.
but
Terrible for podcasting and
Really
terrible,
bad.
sorry.
How dare you bring crisps
Alternate
to a
with their
cinema-related anything or a film-related anything?
yeah, this is well against the code of entertainment,
Yeah.
code of conduct, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a black mark on the register there.
Right, let's go into the scoring. So Sam, you chose The Edge.
Sorry, everyone.
I was enjoying the Pom Bears a
I
little
loved
bit
it.
too much. So the first up, recommendability. So how likely are you to recommend this to anyone?
Genuinely, like, not to troll everybody, but like, I would recommend this film as a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like,
that's too high.
Yeah.
if you're already paying for Netflix and you're subscribing, this film is already in your house. I think you owe it to Lee Tamahori, who hasn't really worked since.
Imagine how much
to watch this
you
movie.
would recommend this film if, like, you came home like half cut and it was midnight and you weren't ready to go to bed yet, and you were like, "You want to see some stupid shit? Yes, me too. Let's watch The Edge."
That's 5.
Yeah, I think it genuinely is a lot of fun, and the fact that you don't have to do too much to get to it. You have to just type in probably and then the letter E, and then it'll appear on your Netflix. Or you could just like go back to your search for all of the Anthony Hopkins films on Netflix. It's probably one of the better ones.
Okay,
Simon.
So next year I will have been watching this film for 20 years, and
Oh my lord.
I cannot. I mean, the thing about recommendability is that I wouldn't be able to recommend it to a full spread of people, so that brings it down a notch. It's a specific target market for the recommending, but I do know people who do and would like this film as much as I do. So I think I'm going to go for like 3.6.
Sure.
Feels good to me. Like a yeah. Some people are gonna get it, and it's definitely not one that I'm going to recommend that my family watch on Boxing Day. But yeah, 3.6.
Helen.
This film is terrible. It's really bad. I mean, the fact that it's played so seriously all the way through as well, without even
Bird
a
strike.
hint of
What is that?
knowing this from anyone. And it is nearly 2 hours long as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is going against it. But
I mean, is there a but?
I don't know who I would recommend it to,
Yes.
that I know that they would thank me or still be friends with me at all. But, I'm going to give it a 2 because
Fair enough.
I think you fought hard for it and you've been watching it for a long time.
I've been watching it for a long time. It's
That's commitment
yeah, it's something else.
beyond the cause.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 3. I think there are people that hate me for recommending it to them, and there are people who love me for recommending it to them. I think it's like I said, that spread of people isn't far and wide, but whoever watches it, they'll know it's po-faced, and they'll know what it's. They'll enjoy it for what it is, and I think those people will take it on board. So, yeah, 3.
That makes sense.
I think the best way to recommend this film, and it does kind of go against the whole podcast,
So recommend it with caveats.
but if you bought this for someone in a shop and you actually put it in a sleeve for the Revenant, and you get wrapped up, you gave it to them for their birthday or whatever, and then when they got home, they're like, God, I can't watch the Revenant, and then they actually open it up and they see it's a disc for The Edge. They will be so grateful.
That would be my favourite birthday present.
Or they put it on or watch it all the way through and go, I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was meant to be in this.
Oh well, never mind.
They've missed nothing. They've watched a much better film, but they've been as excited as they would be for watching The Revenant.
Stupid Revenant.
Repeat viewing score, Sam.
I mean, so yeah, I've watched this 3 times in the last year, and I can't wait to watch it again. I think it's so much fun. Like, this is kind of so my Netflix list is mainly like very worthy films that I should have watched, but films that have been on there since I've had Netflix for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
And then films that I actually watched, like this, which aren't on my list, but I know exactly where they are anyway. They don't need to be on the list. The list is for like when people come over, they could see how sophisticated I am. But when they leave, I'll pop The Edge on. I really love watching films like this. Like, this is my go. If anything, Netflix doesn't have enough like 90s action movies on it. And I love that this is still on there, and hopefully it will forever be on Netflix.
Yeah. What's your score?
I don't want to keep giving it a 5. I think it's a 4, because I've only watched it 3 times in the last year. I've watched loads of other films, but I would look forward to repeat viewing again, and I would love to watch it with people who maybe haven't seen it before to see their reactions.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Can I ask a question about the repeat viewing category?
Sure.
Obviously, I've viewed this film a lot, but is this? So am I saying? Is my score like the potential repeat viewing value for other people, or like, because my own repeat viewing is endless for this film.
That's just
Is that up to me?
Yeah,
Do you enjoy it every time you repeat view it?
Yeah, I fucking love it.
Sounds like a 5.
It's got to get some points from somewhere. It's not going to get the points here.
Helen is not going to get this point.
It's one of my most watched films.
Yeah. And
So-
you're going to continue watching it.
Yeah. It's 5. It has to be. Yeah. Bam. Smash.
Once you notice the Jerry Goldsmith score, it's worth rewatching
Oh,
it just
God.
for that, just for the aural pleasures. You could leave the room, just put the volume up pretty loud.
It's a fucking loud film.
Helen.
I'm not going to watch this again. I'm sorry. Even though I am enamored with your enthusiasm and commitment to bring in the edge to as many people as possible. And I know I have bad films that I really enjoy, or
of course.
trashy films, but this is not one of them.
Yeah.
So no points.
0.
It's driven you to the edge.
I'm going to give it a 1.5. I can't see myself watching it. And this era, if I'm looking at this era kind of action films, I would veer towards things like Kickboxer and stuff like that kind of action film, not the survivalist type of stuff.
Sure.
Jean-Claude Van Damme bullshit.
Yeah.
Which is on the equal levels of bullshit as this, but
Fair enough.
You won't go for the David Mamet bullshit. That's fair enough.
It's a bit too highbrow.
I can't believe that it's Mamet. God, that's funny.
the small screen score.
I mean, does it yeah, I don't. I mean, it doesn't look very good. So when we watched it at the cinema, whilst it was really fun to have 20 people kind of like catcalling it and heckling it, like it wasn't. Yeah, it was. It does look a bit ugly, and I think that's mainly
it on?
because
It wasn't a DCP.
no, it was a Blu-ray. There was no. We tried to secure a 35mm print of this. I think they'd have been burned by Bart the Bear. So we had to screen it from a Blu-ray. So obviously not the best, but there is a Blu-ray of it. But I think the HD transfer is not very good. So it is a bit of a muddy looking film. I don't know if you guys thought that. Like you probably didn't like it, so you probably thought it was terrible. but it probably looked a lot better when it was first released. I don't think anyone's done a Criterion Collection style restoration on this one yet.
One day.
So yeah, so actually it was fine watching it at home because if anything, it sort of hides some of the imperfections of it. Like 4 on the small screen. It's a lovely HD transfer on Netflix, and it looks just as good as the Blu-ray we screened from. But yeah, the Blu-ray, the big screen is unforgiving. So watch it on your phone.
Simon.
For me, the small screen score. I mean, there's some silly, running, jumping, climbing trees. I will go for like a middle of the road. I'm glad to have seen it in the cinema, and I thank you for the opportunity. But I'm probably going to go for like a middle of the road, like 3.8.
Helen.
I'm going to give it a 3. You don't need to see this in the cinema.
No.
Although, I mean, I think the action sequence with the plane was pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all right. It was all right. It's
Yeah.
I think you just have to watch it, really. I mean, the bear's great. I mean, the bear could have been really, really awful, but
It's nice to have a real bear.
yeah.
It's a treat. And this is Bart the Bear's
bonus.
last film, I think.
Oh,
He was like
Bart.
21 years old and he died when he was 23. And there's a really lovely, at the very end, if you made it to the very end credits, there's a really lovely message.
Oh, yeah, is it like a dedication?
With special thanks to Bart the Bear and his keeper, John Keeper or someone. It's just so nice because he's a proper stage bear. He'd been in loads of movies, the White Fang film in the 90s, and he was a proper trained bear, and he wasn't used to being outdoors. So whilst they filmed this film really, really outdoors, there were certain things Bart the Bear wouldn't do. Like he wouldn't go in the river because it had such rough stones. He didn't like them on his soft, gentle paws, so they had to put padding in the river, which is in the film. If you watch the film on a small screen or a big screen and freeze frame when he's in the river, you can see he's walking on some foam padding
Oh, bless
to go in the water.
What a lovely bear that they gored to death.
That death scene actually for the bear is actually fucking hilarious because Anthony Hopkins is just there lying underneath it.
It looked like they're having a lovely hug.
It's just like,
It's delightful.
what time is it there? We need to get up. Oh,
He takes the paw off him.
yeah, takes the paw off him, no problems.
Having a lovely little cuddle.
I think there's no need to see this in the cinema.
Sure.
So that gives it a small screen score. I didn't take any notice of the Jerry Goldsmith of the score, so maybe that might give it a leaning towards the cinema in some way, shape, or form. But I think, I'm going to give it a 4 because I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
on a small screen. Engagement score.
And how is engagement defined? Like,
So it's kind of like how involved you were in the film, whether, you know, if it's on, you feel the need to watch all the way through, but also the kind of a factor of
Getting your phone out.
Yeah, you're checking your phone or
So I guess because this is a fun film to watch and a fun film to watch other people, it's sort of a fun film to kind of shout at the screen a
Yes,
bit and
that's
to sort of
true.
like talk about. So like, I don't know, is that in more engagement or less engagement?
I
If you feel the
see.
need to be like, look, you can
No,
see the
that's-
foam in the
that's
riverbed.
That's more engagement.
it's
More
more
engaging
engagement,
with the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
see.
engaging other people with it
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
true.
That's more engagement.
So you get multipliers for bringing more people into it.
Yeah.
I mean, then I think it's like a 10 for engagement. Because it really is fun to watch, like, you know, and respect the cinema code of conduct, but it is also fun to watch at home.
But it's the cinema code of conduct, isn't it? So it's
This is
the
true.
home code of conduct.
I think the home, it sort of lends itself more to maybe watching at home with some pals who don't mind maybe not hearing one of the many mentions of Charles in
agree.
exchange
It's
for
like a
some
very
lols.
dangerous drinking game.
That
that
is,
could be.
you would
Oh,
just
you could
die,
have a
wouldn't
good, yeah.
We did a lot of 10 years ago. We did a lot of film drinking games. I'm surprised that we didn't do The Edge.
Should have.
That would have been.
I can't believe
worse
you
still.
waited until the Revenant to show
We're
it
in
to
our
me.
30s,
Watch
but
it
it's
every
still
year.
What drink could you have though, and not die whilst watching? If you're playing the Charles version of this,
I
drink
mean,
again?
yeah. I mean, God, Schlur.
Yeah.
A shot of Schlur every
I
time.
would still be diabetic,
Yeah.
like coma.
if you wanted to be in keeping and like maybe have like a bit of a secret cinema kind of event around it, I guess maybe something that you might find in this part of the world or that the characters might drink. Like Charles feels like a whiskey man,
Yeah.
although you would die if you drank that much whiskey.
Well, they do drink whiskey or whatever it is in that bottle in the cabinet.
Yeah.
At the end.
The magic
the
cabinet,
the
yes.
brown bottle.
Moonshine. Maybe it's moonshine.
Yeah, sure.
I think
But
something really rough.
don't do 146 shots of moonshine. You'll die.
I think that's a 5 for engagement.
Simon.
Yeah, I'm sort of inclined to agree. Yeah, I really am inclined to agree 100%.
Okay.
I think it's a really fun film to engage with, regardless of quality. And I think it just gets better the more people you watch it with. Like me and Chris Fulton watched it so many times together on our own.
At Chris Fulton.
But yeah, yeah. But I've also seen it with multiple other people, and it's fun to throw stuff at the screen and shout at it and talk over it. So that's another 5 for me.
Helen.
Your face.
I mean, I can only give an honest score.
No, of course. That's
Of course.
I give it a 2.
Oh,
I know.
poor
I
Bart.
got some good emails sent out though. I caught up on it.
It's very
bit of
nice to get some stuff ticked off the list.
I mean, there are moments in it that are fun, but it's 2 hours.
It
You
is
know,
a-
if
it's
it's
a long-
a good 90 minutes, then it might just be
I
a
agree.
little bit more fun. But
Yeah.
it just pushes it a little bit.
yeah, because that bit, like you said, once the bear dies, there's still half an hour left to go.
35
Which
minutes.
is
Yeah, you can wrap up the Baldwin rug pull in less than 35 minutes,
Yeah.
but it does take its time a little bit, yeah.
and I think Charles is very kind on Baldwin.
He is.
Could have just left him in that bear pit.
There's a lovely line that he has in the third act where Charles says, you know, I might stay out here for a while, and you think, oh God, please just live here. Like throw off, like maybe that's the message of this film. Maybe it's
Yeah.
going to be like a great like anti-capitalist, like let's all throw our money away and go live on a farm in the middle of nowhere thing. But then it doesn't do that. It's a cop out, bad one. But I wish he had. If only he'd stayed, he could have met some other bear friends.
I'm going to say 3 for engagement score here. As soon as I kind of twigged these Chekhov gun things going off left, right, centre, I was just kind of waiting like, with bated breath to work out when they were going to occur. And I thought the bear, you know, full disclosure, I thought the bear was going to die in a bear trap.
Right.
So I actually thought, oh no, they didn't pull the trigger on that one, did they?
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah,
Alec Baldwin into a bear trap, which is great.
that is really fun.
Because the bear trap came in a few times. It was in the book.
Yeah.
And then it was outside the Native American Indian's house, and he was studying that really well, wasn't he? And
He's very lucky that it just goes of all of the spikes in that hole. He's really lucky just to get one through the leg.
yeah,
Yeah. Lucky, and also relevant for the plot.
ties it up in a nice little bow.
Mm-hmm.
So 3, which gives an overall score of 3.37, which I think is more
That's
than fair.
quite impressive, yeah.
Yeah,
I think everybody involved in this film would be very happy to hear that score.
I think they'd be very surprised and very pleased.
and I think that people who do like this film like it a lot, and And that's great.
But like when we did the screening of it as well, like we didn't get much Twitter interaction or emails, but we did get a few from people who were very excited that it was on. And I think they were just sort of pleased that someone else had remembered this.
It's a niche pleasure.
But I do hope one day that The Revenant will go on Netflix and that will get lots and lots of traffic, and then Netflix will start serving up The Edge to people.
As a
Bear
companion
algorithms.
piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've suggested this because you liked also The Revenant. So, yeah, we reached out to the guys on Twitter. We're just gonna fire up their reviews, but we did get quite a few reviews through, which I'm always surprised at when it's kind of a smaller film. So it's good to see that people are enjoying these things. So The Edge. So skip to the end. Say really underrated movie, and the two leads are so good. One of the best survival movies around. 4 stars from me. Skip to the end podcast.
That's massive.
Yeah,
One of the best. I mean, it's not one of the best survival movies. I mean, well,
and the two leads are really good at what?
so good.
They're fun to watch.
Acting? No.
they're definitely on screen. They're really, really there.
And they have good beards.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
It happens.
After 2.5 hours, they both appears.
Yeah.
Steve, Everything I Learned from Film Podcast, says 4 stars. I haven't seen it in a while, but love it.
Go.
Yes, Steve.
Well, Steve watches it again and let us know if you still feel that way.
John Lunny says Bear, Beards, Baldwin. 3 stars.
Yeah.
Succinct, to the point.
That makes sense.
Barely Ready. I don't know what that is, but obviously playing another bear.
It's probably just a bear.
Bear
just listening out for bear related. Exactly.
Bear Twitter bot.
And just simply says, or as I like to call it, a prequel to The Grey. Which
Sure.
Be a good double bill.
Yeah.
Sam Pay, who is previously of this podcast, and you guys have you've been on their podcast as well, from Song by Song, says 5 stars and quotes a couple of lines from the film. So a couple of stellar lines. What one man can do, another can do.
Oh, heaven.
And also, what a joy to see Hopkins say, "I'm going to kill the motherfucker."
It's actually sort of a misquote because he says, "I'm going to kill the motherfucker." It's just all syllables.
So people are loving this film, and
Clearly.
and I think it's one. I think it depends when you kind of caught it in your life.
Exactly. I think all of these guys are people that watched it in the mid-90s and are like, lol the past. Yeah, lol the past.
Awesome sauce.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's we're going to call time on The Edge.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
Before we go, please remind us where we can find you elsewhere.
So my name is Simon Renshaw, and I am the co-host of the Picturehouse Podcast with Sam. And you can find me on Twitter at Cy Renshaw.
And I'm on Twitter at Sam_Clements. And you can listen to our voices, more of our voices, talking about new films and very little of The Edge. I don't think we've ever really talked about The Edge on the Picturehouse
No,
podcast.
we must have done when The Revenant came out.
Maybe a little bit. No, because I haven't seen it then now.
Oh, I might have mentioned it.
Maybe. You can go back and find out whether we did that on the Picturehouse Podcast, which you can find on iTunes and on SoundCloud and on all of those other podcatchery devicey things. And yeah, it'd be lovely to hear from you guys.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for your time, guys. It's been super fun.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching The Edge.
Hooray.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, so that was The Edge. I was chosen by the guys at Picturehouse's podcast. That's Sam and Simon. So please do check in with them. We've got all the details to show notes to get in contact with them on Twitter and on Facebook. And please do let us know that we sent you there. Please don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes. And of course, we want to big up Tony and Jay and also Greg, our editors from GL Productions. Of course, please big up Mighty People for the tunes you can hear now. And at the start of the podcast, find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod and visit our website, flixwatcher.tv.